Welcome to the Software Showcase, where we've decided today that we're going to start with ourselves in a small corner.
Look how much we've grown since then.
Joining me in the studio, as always, is Glenn Oliver, our team's project manager and all-around great guy, and I am Mark Stedman, Vice President of Information Technology. And Glenn, who's this fine young man who's joining us in the studio today?
I can't wait. This is Darrell Hill, and he recently joined our team after having become an intern for, what, about 6 months?
Yeah.
Eternity,
yeah,
something like that?
Yeah, about that.
And what we wanted to talk about today is kind of the fruit of that internship which he developed, which was called Greek Words for Translators. But before we dive in, Mark, can you explain Greek Words for Translators? That's a big, long name.
It is, yes. So one of the things that our team works on is making inscrutable names that have lots of words and nobody understands. But the Greek Words for Translators is a simplified Greek lexicon for use by translators. That's why it's called Greek Words for Translators. The point of it is to provide the ability for translators to look at a word in Greek and then also see some explanation about the word and the other places that it's used. It's very simplified because it's designed for mother tongue translators. So if you're used to using a lexicon, like what you would get out of your Logos software or something like that, you're going to think, boy, there's not a whole lot here. That's an intentional decision that was made by the content team to strip back to just the essentials of what a translator would need that would be helpful for them as they translate the New Testament. So before we talk about the actual product and kind of the technical implementation, I want to say thanks so much to the content team of our translation services team, as led by Drew Curley, who started with a group of volunteers some years ago putting together this Greek lexicon. And it was complete in terms of the content for some time, but it didn't really have an easy way to access it. And that's what Darrell's done, is he's helped us put it online and put it into a really, really simple and usable format.
Exactly. And as we go through today, obviously, we're going to show you where to find it and how to use it and maybe its application. But if you have any questions, be sure to stack them up on the chat. We're open for questions and we'll provide some time to answer them. We even have some in the room. I think I got some from our producer there.
Oh, good.
So Darrell, we kind of scooped that a little bit, which was when you first started your internship, this was one of the first projects we came in and said, hey, we've got this Greek lexicon, but it's not really accessible. It's not really ready to use. Talk to us a little bit about what was that first goal that you had?
Yeah, so the first goal was just get this data and make it look pretty. So we want to be able to see it in a way that not only makes sense, but is nice to look at as well, and gives the most information as possible.
Yeah. And would this be something they have to install, or how would they access it?
So we wanted it to be more of just like a website. So a link that you click, and then bam, you're at the lexicon. You don't need to download anything, just very accessible. If you have internet, you can get the lexicon.
So any device, a computer as I got here today, what about a phone?
Yeah, phone as well.
Oh, fantastic. So tell me a little bit about that. So you got to develop the software, you're getting some good feedback, and then it happened during the winter. And
Yes.
you actually had someone who was like, hey, I'll try your thing out.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that testing and the experience.
Yeah, so we had a winter volunteer who was doing a translation in French. So her target was, I believe, Romans 5. So she did her first draft, she had it in French, and she said, I want to see how this compares to the original Greek. So she spoke English, so she said, I have this first word, let me see how it looks in the Greek. And she, first word, realized, oh, this French word I've chosen kind of means to enact justice, whereas the Greek is saying I need to be justified. So that was like a huge distinction right away, first word. So testing was really fun because it was like, first word, it kind of proved its worth, which was fun.
Yeah, and interestingly about this project, it actually was requested by field translators. So I talked to Drew about it a couple years ago, and he said, yeah, we've actually had translators on the field saying to us, we would feel more confident in our translations if we could go back and compare this to the original Greek. And I think we thought for a long time, yeah, probably people won't be able to do that or they won't want to do that. So that was new information for us to realize, no, even a mother tongue translator in a developing context, they care passionately about the word and it being translated accurately, and they want to have access to the original Greek and to help them understand in a way that's useful for them to make their translation great.
And it's also edifying in a different way. I had some other volunteers who were simply taking English and essentially doing a simplified version of the translation, as though they were going to talk to grade schoolers. And when they found out that this was available through that one volunteer, it spread like wildfire, because they realized that, you know, the words that we have in our Bible, when trying to explain them, we've just gotten so used to the meaning. And then breaking down the meaning behind that, they're like, oh, let me go to the Greek. Oh, that is a better way. I understand how I can simplify this so I can explain it to somebody that is not familiar with the jargon and words that we use every day and to brothers and sisters in Christ.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. So I think it would be now a good time to show a little bit about that. So we're going to go to our website here, which is Bible in Every Language, to show one of many ways to be able to get to this resource. Notice that the first thing you'll see here, if you happen to visit Bible in Every Language today or maybe over the next couple weeks, there'll be an opportunity to take a survey. And we really would appreciate your feedback on that. We're really interested in finding out people that are coming to the site and looking for particular assets or source text or just reading. What was the experience like? Did you find what you're looking for? And ask you just a very few questions to get it done in 2 minutes, and it would be immensely helpful for us. So just that brief advertisement within our showcase.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. It's a super simple survey. You can answer only one question if you want, which is, did you find what you came here looking for, yes or no?
Yep.
And after that, you can answer a second question if you want, but you don't have to. And after that, you can answer a third one.
Although if you didn't find what you're looking for, I'd be kind of curious.
Yeah.
So please feel free to share that.
That's why the second question is, what were you looking for? But it's a very simple thing, and it really does help us because we are thinking about Bible in Every Language, and we're trying to make it a really good and useful resource for the global church as well as for people who are interested in the work of Wycliffe Associates. So your feedback is welcomed. But
Great.
Back to the
program.
back on the fairway.
Excellent, excellent. So the good news is that we've actually got several different ways that you can access the Greek words for translators. One, there'll be a link in this program itself and also in the follow-up email, so you can wait for that. But if you're trying to guide somebody else saying, oh, I seem to recall them saying I can get to it from Beale, there's actually a couple different places. You notice here I'm on the resources page. And if I simply scroll down to here, I can see a lot of the resources available. And in the second grouping, you'll notice translation notes, translation words, and Greek words.
Ta-da.
Greek words for translators. Click that, and you're off and going. However,
Just to call back to our last software showcase,
Yes.
right above Greek words for translators is Doc. So in
Hey.
case you lost Doc, it's right above Greek words for translators.
Call back.
On the resources page. Thanks. See our previous episode.
for those who are playing at home. For some of you, if you come to Bible in Every Language, if you're just typing that and going there, you might just land up on the translations page. And the default for that is probably going to be English for most all of us. And if that's true, you can also find that on that same page. You'll see a lot of resources. But the very bottom there is also Greek words for translators. I'm going to skip over the tab where I already have it preloaded here. And it starts here, the actual address that you'll have a link for in both the video and in the email following this will be gwt.bibleineverylanguage.org. That'll bring you there. As this little page opens up, I haven't actually told Greek Lexicon anything that I'm interested in knowing more about, so it fills scripture, as you see on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, it just gives some quick tips until I actually select something for it to give me more deliberate information. Now, it's going to default to Matthew chapter 1, verse 1, but if that's not what you're looking for, you can simply scroll to that particular book that you're interested in, or search for it by book. And you'll notice here, if I was to click on Matthew, for example, it gives me, let's go to Mark actually, it gives me access to all the individual chapters to help me narrow down very quickly. But we're going to go to Philemon, not only because I think it's Darrell's favorite book, but because it has one chapter, so we can make this real easy.
Now, Glenn, if I want to get to the Old Testament in the Greek lexicon, where do I find that?
How much of the Old Testament was written in Greek, Mark?
That's why it's a trick question. Stay tuned for Hebrew lexicon for translators. Due out next year.
All right. So what we see here, again, on the right-hand side is we see our source text in the ULB. And we're going to select a word here, brother. Once I select that, it brings up what the actual Greek word that this translation is based on. And you can see that it gives a couple different definitions right away. In fact, it actually gives you more information down below for those that are interested in morphology and other subjects. You can click on that, and it'll give you definitions so that you understand not only what the information is about, but how it pertains. Before I move on, any
No, everything there?
Okay, great.
I think it's notable. I think almost every word is a link, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's correct, and I
Close to
also
it.
want to show that not only are they individual words, but sometimes there are several words that
Right.
are linked together. So, to Archippus.
Yeah. Yeah, as you
than I would.
scroll over the text, you'll see that almost everything has a clickable link and it'll pop
Correct.
up on that right-hand
Yeah.
side. Yep.
So we're going to show how it handles things such as individual words, multiple words, and phrases, and breaks that out. You'll also notice here that it gives us additional information, not only about the individual, but where else that is referenced. So that's very handy. And so if I wanted to click here and say, okay, what's the context of that? It brings that relevant scripture to me right away on the right-hand side, kind of zoomed into where it's in bold, where that occurs.
Nice.
Yep. And if I just go back, then I'm back to the information I had. So we've kind of looked at a word. We've looked at a couple words paired together as one word. But what happens when I look to a phrase? When I mention, right? Would that be a good one?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we can see here, we actually got a lot more context going on. Do you want to delve into this? Because I think we look into a little bit more.
Yeah, I think this one's really interesting because it illustrates how it's like English and Greek, it's not just a one-to-one pairing. Sometimes it's one-to-many.
Yeah.
So this is a great example of that, and it's the ways that you can kind of have different combinations is really interesting, and the lexicon kind of gives you enough context, but not too much to where you start making assumptions that aren't true.
Oh, and because that's a phrase, it has two words. It has that second one.
Precisely.
I don't have the ability to pronounce Greek, but there's two separate words. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yep. But it accumulated there in that mention there. Yeah, so I think that's the major way that you would be interacting with the app. And as we've seen both here and hopefully soon in the field, I know that this has been actually live for a little bit better than a month, so that the translation services can kind of share it and test it, get some feedback in case there are any improvements we want to make in the future. But we'd love to encourage people to use it. I think that it's not only something that is for Greek translators, our target audience, to use to help edify and make sure that it's accurate, but can also be useful, I think, in your own personal Bible study.
Yeah. Let's nerd out about the tech for a few minutes.
Absolutely.
So Darrell, what language did you create this in?
So this is all JavaScript. So I use just React as the framework,
Okay.
and then Material UI for the front-end components, and just single-page application there.
Nice.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so single-page application means what?
Yeah, so it's just one page. So it gives the illusion that you are kind of navigating between different things, but you're really not. You're leaving that page. You're
Right.
just staying there.
Yeah, like when you click on something, it doesn't reload the whole page.
Exactly.
It's just sort of natively there, and it moves around. This technology, of course, created by Facebook, which is really
It's
meaningless.
meta, you know.
Yeah, meta. But it makes it really performant. So I think if you're on a slow internet connection, you don't have to feel like, oh, every time I look at a phrase, it's got to like reload the page, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's basically on your device.
It does some caching, I think, in the background, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Now, is this available as a progressive web app and it works offline if you save it, or is it not quite there?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Okay.
That's on our backlog.
Yes.
on the backlog. Yep.
Yes, actually.
Okay.
And also, I do want to mention, we have Darrell here with us today, but the invisible person in between us is also Diane,
That's right.
Diane Solansong.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
she was our intern for the design internship, and so she did the layout after doing a bunch of research and that kind of stuff. So if you think it also looks good in its layout, that's thanks to her. So a lot of people, a lot of work behind this.
Yeah. If you were using it on mobile, it would not be side by side. It would be one, right? I think you get the
Correct.
when you
Exactly.
click on something, it pops out like a side window.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's totally mobile responsive. One thing I really like about it is that the URL at the top, which is the address, you can't see it all right now, but that URL carries the book and chapter and verse that you're on, so that if you want to share it with somebody, you're not just sending them to Matthew 1:1, you can send them right to the thing you're looking at.
Precisely.
Yeah, this is actually a really important and intentional choice. So it means if somebody says to you, hey, I'm grappling with this, or I have a question about that, you can look it up here and you can send it to them, and they're going to get right to this instead of just Matthew 1:1. I'm sure we've all had that thing where somebody sends us a website and they think they're sending you the product or whatever, but it's just the front page of Amazon or whatever, that kind of thing. So that was, I think, a really smart choice, and I've found that useful.
And so we'd mentioned earlier the person who was our first guinea pig on this, using a French translation. She also gave us some really good feedback, as long as we're geeking out, talking about the settings. So one of the things that they also worked on is the fact that you can change a lot of what you see before you on each of the side panels, because there are kind of different information, and depending on your display, you may want it to actually look a little bit different. So it provides you that ability to, as you can see right here, it's responding in the background. And reset if you go too far.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I have to say I'm a little stunned there's no dark mode.
You know, I really tried for it, but I just couldn't get the design team on board.
Okay, all right. That's all right. I don't mind it personally, but I know there are people who are like very insistent on dark mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we are really interested in people trying in feedback. We have collected a couple of good ideas on our own that we'd like to return to, probably in the beginning of next year would be our goal. So we're open for feedback and suggestions.
Yeah. Speaking of feedback,
Yes,
should we see if there's any questions from the crowd?
perfectly anticipated.
David, producer man?
So we do have one question from Craig Oliver, and actually just answered this, is can I use this app on my phone?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
As long as you're online.
Yeah, then my question was actually, you answered that one earlier, Mark, was are we going to have an Old Testament and Hebrew translation eventually? So
Well, before I overpromise for the content team, it's important to understand how much work it is to create a Greek lexicon. So I would guess, I can't speak for the content team, I would guess a Hebrew lexicon is quite a distance in the future, because first you have to create the content. The presentation is actually fairly straightforward. We've created it once. So in fact, I think before that, what we're going to see is Greek words for translators in some other languages besides English.
Like Spanish, for example.
Yeah, we recently had a couple of folks come forward and say, I speak Spanish and I've got knowledge of Greek original biblical languages, and I'd like to help to begin creating those mappings so that this could work in Spanish. So I don't know how long that's going to take. It's not a small project, but we would like to see that very soon, I think, and not just have it limited only to English.
So if this sounds interested to you and you have a language in mind and have connections,
Yeah, talk to Abby Curley.
you're welcome, Abby.
You can talk to us, but we're just going to send you to Abby Curley. So.
Fantastic.
All
Well, I
right.
think that's what we have for them today.
Yeah.
Oh, but wait,
Hang on.
it's
What
time for
is it?
something.
Yeah, it's bullet time. Okay. I think we need to practice bullet time more, like the transition. Bullet time transition. You can tell we're a little rusty, I think, on the show. So anyway, bullet time is our very special time where we want you to get to know Darrell, and we want to get to know Darrell. So we have a list of questions that Darrell has not seen until now, except for the one that he just saw for a moment, and hopefully didn't have time to read. So, first question. First question now.
Oh.
What is your go-to move, your go-to dance move at weddings and parties?
Oh, easily the sprinkler.
Easily the
It's
sprinkler.
not even a competition.
I don't even know the sprinkler. Can you
No,
demonstrate?
absolutely, yes.
Oh,
Say no more.
That's a showcase first, my
that
friends.
is a showcase. Yeah, we've not really had a lot of dancing on the show. Okay, the question before that one, if you would, Mr. Producer. What's your favorite word that is funny to repeat?
Ooh, I like goober.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a good one. I like it. Goober, goober, goober. Yeah. Hard to say it without laughing. All right, what else we got? What 3 things would you bring to a deserted island?
Oh gosh.
And then I'll give you my list.
Yeah, probably just Subway footlong,
Okay.
another Subway footlong, and jalapeno chips from Subway.
I hear you saying you'd like a sandwich.
I'm very hungry.
Yeah. When Glenn and I were workshopping this earlier, my suggestion was I only need 2 items. Helicopter pilot. I don't,
Oh yes.
but,
I'm thinking of something that
Dang,
I
I
can
wish I
carry.
had gas.
Yeah.
it's a fully fuel
Oh,
helicopter. All right, what else we got? What is your quirkiest hobby or interest that nobody knows until now?
Oh, I was really into the ukulele for
Really?
a while. Yes.
Okay.
Very much so.
Okay,
Yeah.
then you a little Hawaiian slack key.
Yes, 100%.
Nice. All right, way to go. All right, and I believe our final question is giant fluffy puppy or tiny rhino, and you're stuck with it for life. So choose wisely.
I think tiny rhino.
Yeah,
It
that's-
seems easier to clean up
To
after.
me, tiny rhino every
Yeah.
time. Can you imagine having like a little tiny rhino?
It'd be so cute.
You're
You
going to
know?
spend the rest of your life with bruised shins. Why would you do that?
It's a friendly tiny rhino.
Yeah. It loves me.
They're so cuddly.
Yeah.
Although those horns and things.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, final question is, do you have a book recommendation for folks that's a book that's been meaningful to you? And the Bible's always assumed, you don't have to say the Bible.
I think that probably my favorite book that I've reread is probably the first book in the Maze Runner series. I think that was the first book I read in school that I was like, I have to see how this ends.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Page
that's
turner.
a sci-fi book?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know it, so
Yep.
maybe I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Movie series.
Well, Darrell, thank you so much for coming in the studio with us today. And
Yeah.
actually, thank you so much for your work on this project. It was really fun to have you as an intern, and I'm so grateful that we've been able to bring you into the team.
Yeah.
And I am enjoying having you as a full-time person. And
Thank you very much.
thanks for your good work on the Greek words for translators.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Glenn, it's always a pleasure to see you too.
Oh, good to be seen.
Yes, agreed. Glenn was recently out for a little while. He wasn't feeling too well. No,
that's
not
good.
feeling too good. So that's all for us for today. Thanks again for coming. See you
Look
next
forward
time.
to next time.